run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, high and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though.
Hi everyone. I think we can start. I'll give an introduction about myself. I'm John Paul Gitonga, a business analyst in the IT industry and within the robotic process automation space. And today's discussion will be pretty much be around the RPA roadmap and maturity in an organization. So it's just giving an introduction to RPA and how it can be adopted and grown within an organization. So just to give the brief, RPA roadmap and maturity in an organization pretty much focuses on the journey of an RPA practice within a specific organization at the point of the initial stages as well as it grows within the organization. And pretty much the one thing that comes out when you're trying to adopt a new technology as robotic process automation is that our people are overwhelmed doing things manually. So you will hear this statement a lot within an organization, and the organization looks at ways on how to improve that. So that's how we come to the discussion around robotic process automation and how it can be adopted within an organization. So pretty much within the RPA roadmap is that we develop a strategy as a first step to building the RPA practice within an organization. So at the point you will want to adopt the RPA technology, you start with a roadmap, and pretty much your roadmap is what you call the strategy that you will use. And for this roadmap, you look at how you will define the stages. So we pretty much have a discovery phase, we have a planning phase, we have an implementation phase, and then we have the scaling phase. So as you can see, this is pretty much, it follows the route of a new technology and also how you adopt it within stages within a yearly plan. So when we come to the first phase, and this first phase is pretty much the discovery phase, it's where we set up the app of the robotic process implementation. It will require the tools to adopt. So when we talk about the tools, this is where you look at between an OEM, and an OEM is what we call an original equipment manufacturer. So these are the people who you will use for the platforms. And some of the examples that are out there currently is we have UiPath, we have Automate, we have Blue Prism. So these are now the original equipment manufacturers. And when you talk about them, it's pretty much the technologies that you will use to build your robots. So now when you come to the planning, so when you're looking at planning, you look at how you build the guidelines and policies around the RPA technology within the organization. So this is where you build your RPA governance framework and your RPA implementation framework. And to briefly give a description of each, the RPA governance framework pretty much focuses on how the practice will be done within the organization. So this is pretty much around the guidelines. So number one, it looks at how you have templates in place for either documentation, templates in place where you either have test cases to be done, templates where you have an actual approval being done. So the governance framework pretty much focuses on the guidelines and how to ensure things are streamlined. You will find this to have, number one, the kind of documentations that you will need. It will also have the chain of approval. So this is your approval workflow. It will also have things around how you govern, how you track your projects. So this is where you pretty much build the strategy of how things will be done going forward. And then now we have the implementation framework. So implementation framework is now where you define how the work will be done. So this is where you define the number of people you will need, the skill set you will need, the infrastructure in place that will be required, the kind of licensing that will be done. So this is pretty much where you now show the execution of how things will be done. So when we come to the implementation phase, it's where you've had your governance frameworks done, you've had your implementation frameworks done, and now you have a team in place. And this team is now what we define as the RPA Center of Excellence. And the RPA Center of Excellence works around the skill sets that you will have. So you have your developers, you have your business analysts, you have your project managers. So this is pretty much the team you will work with in terms of ensuring a use case has been done and the delivery of a project has been done. So when you talk about the implementation, we also go ahead to talk about the projects. So this is where you have defined how long a project takes. So this is at the point of you've gotten a first requirements discussion, you've collected the requirements from the users, you have a documentation in place for these particular requirements, then you go ahead and have it hand it over to a developer. So this is pretty much where the implementation is being done and where the actual work is happening. This is where you also have the technology being worked on. So when we've talked about robotic process automation, this is pretty much the robots that are being worked on. So you have the developers come to do that, and then now you have your project managers following up through the project lifecycle. So for the lifecycle is pretty much your requirements, which you've already done, development, which is ongoing, testing, and then now you have the project closure. So this pretty much is now what we have within the implementation. And for implementation, you come to realize that it takes up planning a lot. So it means that whatever you had put in your planning phase has to apply here because you're working with timelines. So here you have like one project taking a certain period of time, and ensuring that it works within that particular period of time. You have also set up your work streams, so now you know how much work can be done within the resources that you have, and that's now how you work through your implementation. And for this, you come to realize that implementation is where you have to come up with more strategy within your roadmap. So this is where you take more time to have your lessons learned, because this is where you have now implemented the technology, you're now working. You need to constantly evaluate, pick up feedback, and now grow with the business. So this is where you have a lot of feedback coming in from your users. This is where you go at looking at what products work for your team better. This is where you go ahead and just constantly review up to get to a point where you see things are stable. So for the implementation, you find every team has a certain workflow. So you have your developers. Your developers are the technical people you need. You have your business analysts. These are your people management. So these are people who engage the teams to get the requirements. These are people you deal with in terms of following up on the requirements. So they pretty much carry now the understanding of the business. And then you also have your project managers who are now constantly following up on things. So this comes around infrastructure, things around the time. So you find the project manager works with the timelines just to ensure things are delivered. So when you come to the conclusion pretty much focuses on the last phase, and the last phase is pretty much the scaling. So now you have a business that's stable. You've constantly been picking up feedback within your implementation. You have constantly been improving on things. So at this point is where you now go ahead and now scale. So if you had a team of 3 or 5, you now look at how you can have additional resources coming in. And these additional resources are now who are going to be able to maintain the certain speed and feedback you're getting. So this pretty much means now you have a constant work stream coming in. So you need to ensure that your team is now well resourced to handle that. So you have additional developers, you have additional business analysts, and then you have additional project managers. So this is where you now look at your team becoming operational, and they're following a certain framework in place that you had put in within your planning, and now it has stabilized through implementation. So with scaling comes a lot of growth, a lot of structure in place, because now you have gone through a lot of reviews, you've gone through a lot of lessons learned from every project. So through this, you're now able to look at how you can scale that based off the knowledge that's been shared through that. Also with this, it's that now there's more demand within the organization. So at this level, you just need to ensure once this demand is growing, you're able to ensure you're able to deliver to this particular growth. And that's why you find with scaling comes a lot of resourcing, comes a lot of build of infrastructure. So you find like you had a few number of computers that run on robotic process automation. This is where you have additional resources coming on that level of infrastructure. This is where you now look at more security levels to be put in place. So you're pretty much having a lot of growth happening, and through that, you need the structure in place for that to happen. So with scaling, you pretty much realize that you're going through a lot of change. So with that comes a lot of reporting. So you need to ensure as you scale, you're also able to collect this information and map it in a way that shows how you're growing and scaling, because you're now trying to see how your resources are working, you're trying to see how your productivity looks like. So you're constantly trying to look at your information in place. So from your requirements, where are you seeing the business having gaps? From your infrastructure, where are you seeing more resources required? So you're constantly picking up things from the organization. So you constantly need to be reporting on those findings, because now those are the things that help the business grow. And as you look at robotic process automation, the one thing is that operational efficiency is the biggest benefit that comes. So the business is constantly looking at how is this helping us, and you find that through your reporting you're able to show that. So you find a lot of reports come here, try to help the business, and then through that roadmap you're also able to show how your team has been picking up all this through the growth that's been happening. So it's more of constantly reviewing, constantly perfecting the craft, and then now getting to a point where you have stabilized. So pretty much that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for joining. We can interact on the platforms just to collect feedback. Thanks so much.
Skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce. Jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi. Up and away we go, from the bottom we rise. Look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies. Fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce. Jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi. Up and away we go, from the bottom we rise. Look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies. Fast though.